Welcome to video lecture number 29. In video lecture 28, we created the vehicle.cpp file, and I showed you how to create a base class and two superclasses, car and airplane, and then how to use the main function as the application driver for the type hierarchy that we created. Now in this video, I want to show you how to take that file and break it up into separate files for better organization so that you can grow your application very large and you can manage many type hierarchies. So the way we do that, if you take a look at this slide, is we have a vehicle.cpp file, and the class definition and the member function definition and the application are all in the same file. But what I want to do is I want to split it into three: an interface file, which we'll call vehicle.h, an implementation file, which we'll call vehicle.cpp, and an application file, which we'll call application.cpp. So now we have on the screen where we left off in lecture number 28, and let's go into vehicle.cpp and let's start breaking this file apart according to the slide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take lines 36 through the end of the file. I'm going to write it out to a file called application.cpp. Okay, and you can see down here that 16 lines were written out. And now what I'll do is I'll go verify that just to make sure so I don't lose all the hard work I did. Okay, there's my application file, so that means it's safe for me to remove it from vehicle.cpp. So starting at line 36 and going to the end of the file, I'll delete those lines. Okay, so now I need to create a vehicle.h file. And so to do that, I'm going to copy all of these files because I'm currently in vehicle CPP and I want to keep that file. So I'm going to say 1 through the end of the file, write it out to a file called vehicle.h. And now I'm going to exit and go check that. So now I have a vehicle.h. Okay. So vehicle.h, vehicle.cpp, application.cpp. So in the application, I want to add an include called vehicle.h. And then I want to move to the vehicle.h file. I want to create an include guard which prevents redeclaration of classes and objects and variables and the like, because include files like vehicle.h can be pulled in by many different files in a large application that could consist of dozens or hundreds of code files and include files. And so to do this, I'll say if not def, if not defined, vehicle, and I'm just making this up. That's the same as the external file name, only instead of a dot, it's an underbar, and instead of lowercase letters, it's uppercase letters. That's just a convention. And then I'll say define vehicle underbar h, and then I'll go to the bottom of the file and I'll add a pound and if. So lines 1 and 2 and 37 in this file are called an include guard. And that way, the first time the compiler pulls in vehicle.h, no matter where it's included, because it could be included multiple times, it's going to check to see if there is a symbol called vehicle underbar h in the preprocessor. And if there is, it'll jump to the end if, and it won't include any of this code. But if it's the first time, then vehicle underbar h is not defined. So then it goes to line 2. It defines vehicle underbar h just for the time that the preprocessor is running. And then it includes all of this code. And that's how we make sure that this code is only included once. If we included it more than once, the compiler would complain that we were redefining all these classes, and it would blow up and it would never compile. So this is called an include guard, lines 1, 2, and 37. Okay, now the next thing is the interface file, which is what this is. This is where the class definition is supposed to have, by convention, not have any implementation in it. And so at line 14 here, you see I've got set year, and it's got a body of the function. It's the implementation, so I don't want that. So I'm going to delete all the function bodies, and let me put a semicolon after that, or it's going to blow up. And so I'm going to do this for each one. There, that gets rid of all the function bodies or method bodies. And so now we're left with the interface file. One last thing I like to do, because there's so much information, it's really nice to kind of tab everything out so that it's real easy for your brain when you come back to this file to see, what am I looking at? And the other thing I like to do is I like to put things in an order that makes sense to me. So for instance, year, manufacturer, model. I like that better because if somebody asks me what car do I have, I say a 2006 Chevy HHR. Now that's just neurotic that I'm doing that. But what I do like to do is I like to put my setters together and my getters together. So I'm going to take all of my setters and reposition them. Something like that. And then I'll usually do something like setters. Because as the public interface gets larger, and they can get very large, you have to be real judicious. There we go. Then it gets easy to get lost. And so I like to do that. I won't do that for all of these, but you can see how now keeping the file lined up and clean helps your brain grasp all of the complexity a lot faster. Okay, so we'll call that done for our interface file. Okay, now let's move on to, well, let me do this. Clang ++ vehicle.h. Okay, I didn't see any real problems there. So now let's move on to the vehicle.cpp. And now we're gonna change this in this way. I'm gonna delete the include files, and I'm gonna add include vehicle.h. So I'm including it here in the implementation file. I also included it in the application.cpp file. And that's necessary. Okay, this is a bad comment. I didn't mean to actually do that. So we are dealing with inheritance, but this is the base class. And frankly, we don't need this line. We don't need the class definition, so I'm going to get rid of the next 4. We don't need the hidden variables, and we don't need this ending curly brace. Okay, let me just pull these to the left. And then, of course, we don't need main because we have that in application.cpp. So I will say 16 to the end of the file. Okay, so that's our implementation file. But you might be wondering at this point, wait a minute, how is the compiler going to know that this set year goes with the vehicle class, and that set VIN goes with the car class, and set tail number goes with the airplane class? So now we have 3 files. We have vehicle.h, that is our interface file. And you see it contains the include guard, it needs IOStream. Actually, it doesn't need IOStream. It needs string because of these string definitions, using namespace standard. And then here's our class vehicle, which is the base class. Here's our class car, which is a superclass. Here's our class airplane, which is a superclass. Now I'm going to update this a little bit just to clean up the comments. So vehicle.h, this is indeed the base class, but base class inheritance is not what I wanted to say there. And then car is a subclass because it inherits from some other class, in this case vehicle. Airplane is a subclass, and you don't need to put this in your program, but this is because you're learning, so I want you to understand, the terminology. Okay, and I've got an extra space here, and frankly we're not using IOStream here, so I'm going to take that out, and we'll debug whatever we need to. Okay, so then we have the vehicle.cpp file, which is the implementation file, and you see that it includes vehicle.h. It has the public shouldn't be there, so let me update vehicle.cpp. I meant to get rid of that public because that's defined in vehicle.h. And then finally, we have the application file, which includes vehicle.h. And now look how simple it is. It's very clean. I'll reformat this right now because I don't like the way it looks. Okay. All right, so now to put all of this together, I'm going to say clang ++ application.cpp and vehicle.cpp, and we'll debug this. Okay, so right here in application CPP, it's complaining I'm using cout, and it didn't see IOStream, and so I'm going to go ahead and update my application to include IOStream. Let's try this again. Okay, so that's how we do it. And now you can add all kinds of stuff to vehicle.cpp, vehicle.h, and expand your type hierarchy and keep your application file very small and very focused on what the application is doing. Okay, that's the end of this video.